You're listening to Ask Dr. Jake. My name is Dr. Jake Tucker. I'm the owner and founder of Good Life Family Chiropractic, and I'm coming to you today from the south side of Lincoln, Nebraska, with another message of health, hope, and wholeness. And if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, then pick up the phone right now and call my office. You can even send us a text message at 402-413-8825. Again, that's 413-8825. We're standing by to help you with any questions as it regards your health. And today we're diving deep on the topic of gut health. Love your gut. We'll be taking this for about the next 6 weeks, however many episodes that turns into. I want to break down the laws and principles of health and healing as it regards your gut, because the gut is the place where so much healing happens. And we really have only recently begun to understand what even happens inside the gut, just from a science perspective. We're really starting to understand that your immune system is housed in your gut, that your mental health depends upon the health of the gut. And we'll be breaking down these topics week by week, show by show. And so make sure that you're tuning into these, whether you're catching a live stream on Facebook or YouTube or going back and watching these after the fact, or if you're catching us on the podcast, look for the Ask Dr. Jake show, because we're going to be really breaking down the gut. Now, this is all going to culminate towards the end of July with our Love Your Gut makeover. And so if you would like a ticket to that show, then make sure that you text that number and ask for a ticket to that makeover. That number again, 402-413-8825. If you're more of an email person, email Dr. Jake at goodlifefamilychiropractic.com, and we'll be happy to reserve a seat for you. Those tickets are $25. But guess what? If you call or text today, that ticket will be reserved not just for you, but also for a guest for just $10. So pick up the phone, send a text to 402-413-8825. And we'll make sure to reserve 2 seats for you today for just $10. So what I want to get into with the gut today is just more of an introduction into what it is to heal your gut, what it is to have a gut problem. A lot of people will get a diagnosis and they'll assume that that diagnosis is unto itself its own separate entity. And that's the way our healthcare system works. You get a series of symptoms. That symptom leads to some testing. That testing leads to a diagnosis. And then that diagnosis leads to a specific treatment protocol. And usually that treatment protocol involves some level of drug suppression therapy. So you're trying to suppress the symptoms of whatever the diagnosis is so that you can feel better. But ultimately, my job is to allow you to understand how to remove interference from the healing process, so that you can actually achieve full health and healing again. And whether you're dealing with irritable bowel system, irritable bowel syndrome, or you've got some sort of Crohn's or colitis, or ulcerative colitis being a more severe example of that, or if you've got an autoimmune disorder, or if you don't even think that you might have one of those digestive conditions, or you're dealing with depression or anxiety or any of those symptoms, then you very likely have a gut issue and you just haven't connected the dots yet. You see, when we're talking about gut health, we're talking about the ability of your body to digest and assimilate nutrients. Your body requires certain nutrients. If you were at the Nutrition or Vitamin 101, you learned about the role of food and the role of nutrients in rebuilding your body. Your body replaces itself at a cellular level every 15 to 20 years. And so you get a brand new you, but that new you can be healthy or sick depending on the ability of your digestive system to assimilate and digest the right nutrients. Now, if you have a healthy digestive system, if it's assimilating and digesting well, then it's your job just to provide it the right nutrients so that it can take it in, replace those cells at a healthy rate, healthy way, so that you become healthy. But if we start receiving interference in that, or a lack of nutrients, then we start to get those digestive dysfunctions, right? Function, the ability of your body to heal, is health. The ability of your gut to heal and adapt to its environment is gut health. And so if it's not doing those things well, if it's dysfunctioning, whether because of a lack of nutrients or an inherent problem in the processing, then we need to address those interferences. So the number one interference that you can have is a control malfunction. So write this down. Number one dysfunction or malfunction in your digestive system is a control dysfunction. That happens because of a disconnect between your brain and the gut. If there's a disconnect in the vagus nerve in particular, this is the big one. This is your rest and digest nerve. This is the one that controls healing in the gut. That vagus nerve controls so much. Autoimmune disorders and the research on the vagus nerve, this is so cool. We're seeing things like cancers and autoimmune conditions being reversed just by some electromagnet therapy, an electromagnet being placed in that vagus nerve and being stimulated with a magnet from the outside, and gut disorders starting to reverse themselves. And so the vagus nerve is really key to that being able to heal. Now, a lot of people don't recognize the role of the spine and the vagus nerve function, but the top bone in your neck, your atlas, and the way it sits in relationship to your occiput and your C2, your axis, absolutely is imperative in that vagal tone. If that atlas is locked out of position, or axis and occiput are locked out of position from your atlas, then it will lead to a dysfunction in that vagus nerve. And we see so much gut disorder and metabolic disorder start to reverse when we realign that atlas into its appropriate position. It should be 31 degrees away from the floor when you're looking at it from the side view on x-ray, and it should be straight parallel with the floor when you're looking at it from the front. When it's out of alignment, when it's out of position, when it's rotated around this brainstem, it starts to interfere with the expression of electrical signals through that vagus nerve to your gut and creates gut issues over time. So we need to make sure that the vagal tone is good. That's the number one key in gut health, is that vagal tone, that neurological function of the vagus nerve functioning well. Number two is we need to get at the right nutrients. And we talked about this ad nauseum last night at the Vitamin 101 workshop. Those right nutrients, your A vitamin, your B vitamins, your C vitamin, your D vitamin, your E, your K, getting some quercetin and get some zinc in it, and that gut needs those things. It also needs probiotics. A diet rich in probiotics or probiotic rich foods is going to promote proper gut health. Having a bowel movement, a consistent bowel movement once or twice a day, having it, as a stool and not as a liquid, or not having to strain to get that out, is very important for that gut health. And so if you're struggling with those things, you may be dealing with a lack of the right nutrients. But some people have gone beyond that, and they've actually created damage. They've created damage by eating the wrong foods. And so that's number three, is the wrong foods, or really non-foods, can create an interference in proper gut health. And so we're looking at things like sugar. We're looking at things like almost foods, man-produced foods, or man-processed foods that create dysfunction in the gut. Things like gluten and glyphosate, if eaten in too much excess, will actually start to break down the gut lining and lead to a breakdown between that gut barrier, where you've got the bloodstream now connected to your digestive system. And some of you will get some spotting or streaking in your stool, and you'll notice this, or you'll notice blood in that toilet. And that's a huge sign of gut dysfunction. If you've got that leaky gut, very often you have that problem. Another issue that you might have with leaky gut is a band of belly fat that is just disproportionate to the rest of your body's composition, where the muscle and the fat and the water composition is way off between your gut and your visceral organs and the rest of your body. And so looking for those things. So if you're getting the wrong things in, things that create inflammation, things that break down that gut lining, we have to look at those things. And these are things that we're going to be breaking down later this month as we dive into it. And so it really does break down into those things. But stress, that fourth thing, the fourth toxic thing that you can get in that's going to lead to gut dysfunction, is an overwhelming amount of stress. And we're one of the most stressed generations of all time. And it has to do with how busy we make ourselves, how busy we allow ourselves to become. And we talked about this a little bit at the Vitamin 101 workshop just the other night. And what this leads to is when you're talking about stress, you let other people dictate when you do things. We all have 168 hours a week, because that's how many hours are in a week. You get to decide what you do with them. If you allow other people to decide what you do with your time, that's where stress comes from, whether that's family, friends, or a job. That stress can build up. It's our job to then come in and take control of that and build time. Take that time back and create opportunities to create that peace, whether that's by doing things you like or enjoy, or getting around people you like or enjoy, or investing in things that you like or enjoy, whether it's with your time or your money. Creating peace is one of those big things that we can do. So we're going to be breaking down all these topics over the next couple of weeks. If you're dealing with gut disorders, if anything I say rings a bell and you need to have your nervous system evaluated, check for that vagal tone. If you need to have your nutrition and getting the right level of nutrients in and have a professional perspective on that, if you need to look at your nutrition and see where those things are interfering toxically, if you need somebody to talk to see if your stress is creating that interference in your gut, then pick up the phone and call my office, 402-413-8825. You can text that number as well. And remember, if you want a ticket to that, we're not doing a workshop. We're going to be doing a makeover, a gut health, love your gut makeover. You can text that number and ask for a ticket. And today only, we're giving those away. Instead of $25 a ticket, $10 for 2 tickets today for that Love Your Gut makeover. And again, that number, 402-413-8825. And whether you're calling or texting for an appointment to come into the office for a consultation, or if you're trying to come to the makeover, you're going to receive a free gut health perspective emailed or texted to you. And you can find that by texting GUT, the word GUT, G-U-T, to 402-413-8825. I'm Dr. Jake. It's been a pleasure talking to you today about God's laws and principles of health and healing. You join me again next time for another episode of Ask Dr. Jake.